This deadline, I don't know, maybe a little bit, not more enjoyable. Obviously, you guys, sounds like you guys made the move with Timothy, but just a little less tough conversations, maybe.
In that regard, yeah. I think it's never easy when, in the past we've had to trade some guys that are a big part of the team and a big part of the locker room and good people and had been good members of the organization for a while. So, yeah, those are never easy days, and trade deadline in general is not, it's not really an exciting day. It's always a tough day to see guys possibly go. So I'm sure it's nerve-wracking for the players, and for management, it's not always an easy day either.
Obviously, it sounds like there's the move on Timothy. Are you able to give us any clarity on maybe what that deal is?
He's going, but not gonna can't really get into it until the trade call and all that stuff goes through.
Are you able to confirm if the Sharks, have any more moves in the queue or anything like that?
No, we're done. Yeah.
Now, were there many calls on some of your other UFAs like Mario and John and those kind of players?
Yeah, we got calls from those guys over the last couple of weeks and the last couple of days. There was interest in them, but the group is they've kind of scrapped and battled their way all season long, and even the last few games they've played well and kind of got themselves back in the mix. So it kind of felt like it was the best thing to do for them, in all fairness to them, to kind of keep the group together and see how the rest of the season goes.
Were there any tempting offers for your guys? Mario's obviously, his name's been out there for almost every year now for 2 or 3 years. I mean, anything you would consider, seriously considered in terms of him?
Yeah, there were some offers that we thought about, but at the end of the day, you weigh it between the future and the present, and the group kind of deserves to have a chance to see how the rest of this season plays out.
Besides, keeping most of the team together, and of course you guys added Sherwood, but did you look to add, anything more to the team?
Yeah, we were in on a few things throughout the week and to see, but I wasn't really in the rental market. We were more in kind of poking around and involved in things and players that had some term.
Speaking of that, I guess rental market, when you guys traded for Kiefer, obviously he hadn't been signed yet, but you had pretty good confidence that, I know that he's a player that you guys wanted to keep, he had the attributes that you wanted to keep, but did you have confidence at that time when you traded for him that, that you guys would probably get a deal done with him, that he would not be a rental?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't trade for him with the idea of him being a rental. We thought we'd be able to get something done. We were hopeful we would, and it's just sometimes things take a little longer than you'd hope, and but it was good. His representation was good. Working with Judd and working it through, everything was good, but took a little bit longer than we thought. But when we made the move, we just think he fits our group well and slots in. It's a different type of player than we have, and he's kind of a unique player and a unique person. So we thought it was a really nice fit and a good fit, so we're happy we were able to get it done.
And recognizing those attributes, and like you mentioned, there's not a lot of players like him in the league, but how much concern was there that, he's 30, he does play a style that one might interpret as can wear a player down, right? He obviously plays a hard style, and to sign a player like that to a 5-year contract?
Yeah, I'm not too concerned about it. I know Potsy and the sports science staff in the gym, I think they're really confident in how the type of shape he keeps him in and his body and everything. He really takes pride in being in shape and taking care of himself. And on top of it, he's a little bit of a late bloomer. It's not like he started playing in the league at 19 and has been playing this way for 10 years leading up to it. So while he plays hard and everything, and injuries are part of the game that can always happen, we feel confident that he'll be fine throughout the contract.
What was the significance of the timing, how it sort of landed just a few days before the deadline?
I mean, it's just kind of how it worked out. We'd kind of been going back and forth with him, his agent, for a little bit. So it just kind of, there's always, deadlines always bring a little pressure to things in some urgency situations, and we were kind of up against it to get something done this week, or look at alternatives. So it's just kind of how it shook out with the deadline.
And the last guy we signed was Wenberg, which was 3 years, $4 million. How do you compare, these two players?
I mean, they're both guys who take good care of themselves, and they skate well. So, I think that's a part of it when you're signing guys in their 30s to, with some term. It's, how they skate, how they move, how they take care of themselves. And, like anything, when you give someone an extension, a lot of it is about the person. If you're going to bet on someone to fulfill their contract and be good for a certain amount of years, you got to believe in the person first and foremost. And Kiefer and Winnie are both good people who are good pros, good vets, and they're high character people, and those are the type of people you bet on.
The Sharks, there were a lot of reports out that they were interested in adding maybe a young blue liner, Nemec or Schneider. And obviously there was the Hamilton report that he rejected trade. How much were you pushing to maybe get that kind of not rental but a longer term young defenseman?
Yeah, we were in on some stuff. Like I said, some of those, we weren't able to, get some of the guys that we were interested in and made some offers on, but that's often the case this time of year. Prices are high, and it's like I've always said, it's an eye on the future, as well as balancing that out between the future and the here and now. So you got to decide how far you're willing to go and what type of assets you're willing to give up, and if it makes sense. But at the moment, some of the it just didn't work out with some of the teams when we went back and forth and exchanged some ideas.
I know it's not a trade, but it was over the summer. But Alex Nedeljkovic, you signed him to an extension. How good has he been fit? Obviously on the ice he's had a good season, but just with Askarov, and it just looks like it's another positive move from the summer.
Yeah, I think Ned is. I think it's just his personality, his work ethic is it's tremendous. And I think for a young goalie like Askey, it's always good to see someone who shows up, works hard, and does their job every single day, no matter how they're feeling or bumps and bruises they have. So, as Askey goes through it, I think Ned's a great role model for him. And then when he's got his opportunities to play, he's played very well. So, he's another one where he's a high character guy who fits in well with our group. And as you can see when he plays, I think the guys play hard for him. Everyone likes him and enjoys him in the building. So, we're real happy to have him locked up for a couple more years.
How strongly do you feel the need for another defenseman, and what are your thoughts on the development of Dickinson and Mukammadula?
Yeah, Dickie's come, he's come along. Like most first-year defensemen, it's a tough league for D, and he's, I think he's kind of slowly gotten better throughout the season. So, he's feeling more confident. He's skating more. He's got a lot of poise with the puck. He's going to make his mistakes, but I think he learns from them and is coachable. So, I think we're real happy with his progression so far. And Shaq, as you guys have kind of discussed the last week or so, it's been an up and down season for him as far as him finding consistency. And part of the consistency is he's had a lot of injuries this year. So. But I think his last 4 or 5 games have probably been maybe his best of the season. He's playing with confidence again and skating and defending hard. So I think it's hopefully for him it can be a really nice last 20 games and kind of be a springboard into next year. So it's I think we're happy with both those guys.
Then how strongly did you feel about the need for another defenseman?
I think the D they've done a good job. I think they compete. They show up every night, and they give us all they have. So, it's if I could have added someone on D or up front that had term and had the right age, then we would have looked at it. So not just the D, but I think it's all part of roster building and the long-term feel of something. If someone fits and had term, whether they're up front or in the back, and I think we were looking at it. So, the D of, like I said, the people on the outside can kind of say what they want about the D, but they show up and they play hard every night, so they give us a chance.
You mentioned the age. Kind of what age were you kind of looking for? There were some defensemen maybe with term, but they were maybe 32, 33. So.
Yeah, I mean it's the younger the better, obviously. Some of the older guys too, you got to look at their profiles, how you think they're going to age and stuff like that. But in ideal world, it's looking at kind of guys probably in their in their 20s that can keep growing with the group. So, but we kind of were trying to have an open mind to everything, just not really interested in the rental market.
I asked you this in January, so I assume the answer is about the same, but I'd ask you if you're, comfortable letting some UFAs walk, right, and, losing them basically for nothing, right, during the off-season. And is that something that you kind of balance, but also with, like you mentioned, the fact that the team was playing well and they had kind of maybe earned a chance to stay together, and so that you can kind of live with it because you wanted to give this team a chance to stay together and make the playoffs?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the scenario of it. Is weighing those things of maybe getting some more draft capital and looking towards the future. But the team's battled hard all season. It's a close group down there, so I felt like they deserved the opportunity to just kind of see how it goes over these last 20 or so games. See if we can make a push and get in the playoffs. But it's they definitely earn the right to not have too many pieces stripped away from the group.
Is it fair to say too then, in relation to that this 3-game winning streak kind of maybe tipped things in that favor, because if you had lost these 3 games, it could be a different place in the standings?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, I think we had a tough road trip to going into the break, and then you come out of the break, you lose to Calgary, and it could have easily gone sideways, right? The next 3 games, if the guys kind of if they buckled, but I think they dug in and played hard and played for each other and found a way to win those games. So it's definitely had part of the decision we made over the last couple of days to not strip it away too much and give them an opportunity. So like I said, they've kind of earned it, and not only these last 3 games, but really throughout the season, that it's a group that deserves to have a chance to see what they can do.
Mario Ferraro.
Are you open to keeping some of your UFAs, particularly on the back end, the way things go, or things are shaping up right now? I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to it, having conversations about it, and you never know what the future holds or what it's going to look like once you get into the off season, when who becomes available, who doesn't become available, things like that, and how you try and juggle and make the roster pieces fit. But I'm not closing the door on any of those guys.
Are you in Mario's camp? Do you feel good about maybe the chances of re-signing him, or is this, maybe something there's some work to do there in terms of bringing him back?
To be honest, we haven't really talked about it too much. I think we had some early conversations, early in the year, and I think both sides just kind of felt it was best to kind of leave it alone and see how the season went and kind of take it step by step. So, so we'll just see how the rest of the year plays out and revisit things once the season ends.
But how do you feel about it so far, how he has done, how much ice time he had, being the longest sort of shark on the roster?
Yeah, I mean, I never worry about Mario, right? He competes his tail off every night, gives us everything he has. Blocking shots, taking on bigger guys. So he's someone. It's the comfort of him is when you show up to the rink, he's gonna lay it on the line and give you everything he has. So he's not someone I worry about, and I give him credit for the trade deadline and the possibility of your contract running out is never an easy thing for an athlete, and I think he's handled it very well.
With Tim being headed to Washington, it leaves you guys with only 6 defensemen on the roster. You obviously have Nick Leddy in the minors, but also guys like Luca Cagnoni and other young guys. Is there a plan to maybe bring up one of the younger guys, or is Nick the guy?
We're kind of looking at it, but we're going to need a body for. We'll see if how we get through tonight and tomorrow. Then if we get through tonight all right, and we get through Saturday okay, then we'll we'll definitely have to make a decision whether that's Leds or one of the younger guys coming up to meet the team in Buffalo.
How is Nick taking that move down there? I know he hasn't played much, but just, it sounds like, when we talked to Ryan about it, he said there was some stuff going on behind the scenes. I'm not sure if you can get into that, but just, he hasn't played in a while. So how do you approach his maybe chance of playing back up here?
Yeah, I think he's been a good pro. It's someone who's been in the league as long as him. It wasn't easy for him, I'm sure, to have to go on waivers and get sent down, but he's practiced hard. He's been been good in the weight room and been good with the group over there. He just hasn't felt comfortable playing down there yet. So, but he's been a good pro, and he's kept an open mind to all possibilities. So, I'm sure he was hoping to maybe get moved somewhere and get an opportunity, but the way it's kind of shaken out, there's a chance he can work his way back up here, so and possibly help us out. So, but he's been a good pro, so no, everything's good.
The fourth line has done well with and without Reeves, and what are your thoughts on him in the future?
Yeah, Revo's been good. He's had a good impact on the group. He brings some personality and energy to our group. When he's had his opportunities, he's done his job. He's forecheck, played physical. He's stuck up for our teammates and brought a little bit of physical presence and element to our group that we didn't have in the last couple of years. So, I think we're happy with him. And when he's played, he's done his job. And when he hasn't played, he's been a good teammate. And whether that's Goddard or Delhi or Reg, whoever stepped in, has played well. So I think in general the fourth line's done a pretty good job for us throughout the year.
When you guys decided or whenever you guys decided about Michael Misa to keep him here, did you guys, or how do you say it? Did you guys expect just this kind of sort of rapid development? Or how much is a testament to your guys' evaluation and your guys' development that this is happening, kind of like it happened with Will Smith last year?
You hope. You never know. I think the two things that gave Mies a chance to keep growing and that we felt good about was, one, he's got a real high hockey IQ and he figures things out pretty quickly. And the other thing was, the skating and the ability to play with pace. And I think, that's something he has, and he's getting more and more comfortable using his skating. And so he had the setback with the ankle and everything like that, which kind of slowed him down a bit. But coming back from World Juniors, he had confidence and has played his game more and more. So, he's a smart kid. He's very adaptable. He's like, when he played in the, for Saginaw as an exceptional status player, it's almost the same thing, right? He kind of slowly figures things out. So, we were confident that he had the skating and the brain to kind of get a feel for what he needs to do to be successful, and he's starting to do that. And play some good hockey.
Was that IQ like a high, kind of a priority consideration for keeping a guy like him and Will Smith too? Both players with exceptional hockey IQs, give you the confidence, even though they're teenagers and whatnot, to stay in this league and survive.
Yeah, I think it's a big part of it. Things happen quickly. The game's fast. You got to be able to process it fast. And also with those guys, it's their temperament. They got the right temperament. They're not guys who get too high or too low, and there's huge emotional swings, which, if you're a young guy and you struggle, and you're going to struggle, and it goes on for, 4 or 5 games, it's easy to kind of get down in the dumps. But these guys, when they've struggled, they've kind of just stayed even keel and just kept going about their business and trying to get better. So, I would say those two things gave them a good opportunity to find some success.
I know it's tough to see.
Maybe a few more minutes
see,
here.
Tim go, but just how are you excited to see how the next 6 weeks kind of unfold here, and whether or not you can get in? I'm sure it's part of it.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited for to see how the group handles it. It's I think it's a very valuable experience for these guys to go through and to kind of learn what it takes to to play with pressure, to handle the ups and downs of a game, and I think this group it's going to be important for them. I think, Mac got a speed run of it at the Olympics of playing in that pressure. So now if Graffer and Ecke and Chucky and Meese and Dickinson and Shaq, all these guys can get a little bit of taste of the pressure of having to perform, but still having fun and enjoying the game and doing those things. I think it's an important part of their growth. And this team being together, not having gone through this before, it's it can only aid us in the future and figuring out what it takes to win these games. The game on Tuesday, is a great example of it, where the power play has been struggling, but we find a way to get a goal to go up 5-2, and then we maybe take not the smartest penalty in that situation, being up a few goals. So that kind of opens the door, lets them back in the game, but we don't fold. We go right back at it, and we end up getting the winning goal from Kiefer. So it's kind of those type of learning moments and experiences, I think, will be really beneficial for the group moving forward, of handling the highs and lows and the discipline and things like that take to win games once you get into April and May.
Was there ever a moment you didn't think you could get Kiefer extended here, throughout that process, I guess?
Yeah, I would say there was probably a point where some doubt crept in. I don't know if it was ever to a point where I was at, oh, this isn't getting done. But, there was probably a moment or two where there's maybe a little bit of doubt that this is maybe not going as quickly or as smoothly as you hoped, that you're going to have to really buckle down and on both sides and get it done. But, fortunately for us, Kiefer wanted to be here, and, Judd was, able to kind of work with us to get it to a good number.
You guys, you have that second first rounder from the Oilers this year. Was that in play at all, or teams might have been asking about it, or is it just a matter of, we're not trading that this year?
No, I think I would say it was in play for the right player.
Yeah.
It's a pick that will be open to moving, but it's got to be someone that kind of fits our group and can be probably someone we would hope would be part of our core and could grow with.
As for the conversations you might have had before the deadline here, can continue. I mean, it's not a closed
Right.
book in terms of, maybe trying to bring in a young D-man or whatever it might be, I guess.
Yeah, I think a lot of times the work you do here at the deadline is definitely kind of the foundation for stuff that when you get into kind of around the draft in June and free agency, it's almost like a little bit of a starting point. You take your notes and you kind of go back and forth, and I think it's sometimes there's, for whatever reasons, maybe it's not enough time or it's salary cap, whatever, things don't get worked out at the deadline, or teams are in different points and places and in the standings and things like that. So yeah, I think it's been good dialogue the last few weeks, and we'll see if it leads to us getting any deals done come June.
Can I ask, how far things did go down the road with Panarin? There was talk, there was some mutual interest there, and he was open to maybe coming here, and he said later he just wanted to go to LA, but did you get the impression from him that he was open to coming here at all?
We kind of kick the tires. I mean, for the most part, if there's any good player becomes available, I'll kind of check in and see what the price is and see if they're, someone like him, see if he's would be interested in coming here. So yeah, I think we talked a little bit. We didn't really get into it too far, but I think this was a place I think he would have been willing to come to. But ultimately for us, I think we kind of thought the assets might be better spent elsewhere.
I want to ask you about Kenyoni and Nolan Allen. How do you see their seasons, and is it fair to say that for Barracuda defensive prospects that they might be the closest to a call-up?
As far as prospects go, yeah, I think, Cags' season's been pretty good. I think he set the expectations probably too high from how he did last year, but he's been good. He's taken steps in his defending and, his rush reads and things like that. Some of the stuff the coaches have asked him to kind of focus on. So all that stuff I think is improving, and he's growing as a player. And he's still really good on the power play and distributing pucks and things like that. So I think it's been a good season for Cags, and he's also has a target on his back, so he's learning to deal with that. He gets run, or guys try and run him and be hard on him physically. So it's all part of his growth, but he's handled it well. So he's a tough kid. So it's been a good season for him. I think he might say he wants a little bit more production, but I think he's doing what we're asking of him, and some of it, and a lot of that for him is on the defensive side of the puck. The offensive side of the puck comes pretty natural to him. So it's been good for him. And Nolan, I think, he's been real solid for us. I think once he got used to the new D-zone system and how we play D-zone, I think he's been good. I think his skating and his physicality is something that we don't have a lot of in our group down there. So he plays real hard every night. Real good guy. Sticks up for his teammates. So he's made a real good impression with us. And his first pass ability and puck moving is probably even a little bit better than we maybe initially gave him credit for. So we're happy with him, and we're happy with CAG. So those guys, we'll see how the season goes, but I'm sure at some point there'll probably be some opportunity for those guys up here to kind of get some games and see how they do.
Similar to Curtis's question, just about Panarin, but there's some stuff coming out about Nemec. How far along the lines? I mean, that's a 22-year-old right-handed D-man who would line up for what you were talking about. How close did you guys get there, and was there an interest there?
No, that wasn't really. I think that was more kind of I don't know, Twitter stuff or whatever it is. So it's I mean it's similar. You kind of call and see if someone's is available, and then see what the asking price is, and that was really about the extent of it. So there wasn't any real getting into it too much, but yeah.
More of a check-in.
Take
You
a
would
final
qualify
round
that
of
as maybe
questions
just to
Yeah.
kind of see what's going on?
Yeah, I think, this time of year, or actually any time of year, like I said, if there's a player that we like and think he can help our group and becomes available, then I'm going to make a call and check in and kind of see what's going on. Sometimes the player isn't available, and then other times he may be, but may have a real high price that, doesn't fit with us. But other times, you call and you have a chance to try and work something out. So
Mike, how do you come up with the number for Sherwood? I mean, he had a fairly quick change in the last couple of years here.
yeah, I mean it's never we do our comp work and where we think the number should be, and but then you got to take in there's other considerations. One, he's got a lot of leverage. He's going to be a UFA. It's maybe not the strongest free agent class, and so there's a lot of things that go into it, especially when a player does have the ability to become a free agent in the summer. So it's not as cut and dry as maybe some other negotiations that you might have. So a lot of goes into it. Our kind of analytics group, AJ and Dylan and Charlie, do a good job helping us. But so we had a number in mind, and then a number we were willing to go to, and a number we weren't willing to go to. So it kind of all goes into it. But in the same time, Kiefer's a unique player as well. So there's just a lot of factors what he brings and how he fits with the group, along with the actual science of what the numbers might be. So kind of a lot goes into it.
Now, Macklin, I believe, is available for extension on July 1st. Have you guys started any discussions on that?
No, we haven't got into it. Anything. We probably won't try and sign him, so we'll let him go.
Yeah.
Is that a high priority?
Yeah, it's not a priority.
He's okay. He's not that
He's all
good.
right, yeah.
He's one of the guys growing a little log, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I don't want to think about the number either, so. We'll see. No. But we
That's
have,
Hassel's problem.
yeah, yeah.
How exciting is it to see the step he's taken? I know we expected a big step from Macklin, but just, I know we touched on it in January, but even after the Olympic, I mean, just how much fun are you having watching him play for your team?
Yeah, I mean, we're fortunate to have him, and it's, it's with all him and all the young guys, it's really, that's what you enjoy, right? Watching their progress and watching how they develop and improve throughout the year. And for him, it's just as much the off-ice stuff as the on-ice stuff, just watching how he handles himself, the pressure, how he deals with the pressure. And it's not easy for a 19-year-old kid to kind of be the number one center and have to talk to you guys all the time. And
We're not Toronto.
yeah,
We're nice.
yeah.
We're a little nicer.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, but it's a lot. It's a lot for him, and he handles everything so well, and so it's nice. It's great to watch him in the Olympics in that environment and play with those players and step up and be one of the best players in the tournament. So we're fortunate to have him, and I'm real proud of him. Not only what he's done on the ice, but off the ice. I think he's he's a great kid and he handles himself well, and you just see his personality even with the going to see the kids yesterday. I think he's genuinely happy to be a part of our community and be around. Everyone he's around, I think, enjoys being around him, and he makes our group better and everything. And he's a great person. So we're fortunate to have him.
Can I ask,
Just what your thoughts were on other teams around the division and teams you're kind of fighting with for playoffs about what they did today? It seemed like a lot of big moves were made. Anaheim, Carlson, Edmonton adds a couple of guys, Utah, Seattle. And just your thoughts on maybe some of those teams, what they did.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's trying to win, right? And everyone's trying to get in the playoffs, and I think those teams are probably a little further along in their transition state. Anaheim, Utah have kind of been building things up for a while now. So, for them and the positions they're in, I think it's kind of time for them. They probably felt to step on the gas a little bit. So, so that's where they are. It's good for the league. It's good to see, and it's for us. It's just to keep playing our game and see if we can kind of rise to the challenge. But it's been interesting to watch those, some of the teams add guys, especially in the Central. Those guys are kind of heavyweight teams adding stuff, so it's always kind of interesting to watch.
And it wasn't anything that was going to affect your approach, right? in terms
No, we're not at that point yet, right? It's kind of stay the course and try and be as disciplined as I can be and not get too caught up in the moment.
last one for me. The Capitals just announced that it was a 4th-round pick coming to you guys for Lodgegren. Just can you talk about that return and maybe weighing like keeping Tim for just depth or just taking that return?
Yeah, we just thought it was good value. Lily's been good for us here. He's a really good kid, good person. So we just thought it was an opportunity to get some pretty good value from him for our end, and add a pick and see what we can do with that. And we feel confident, and the guys that we've talked about here earlier, with whether that's Leds or Nolan or Cags or whatever, that we have a little bit of depth down there that we can bring in and kind of support our group up here. But the 60 we got up here now, I think we feel good. We feel good about that group. So it's we just felt it was a good thing to do and right move for the organization, and it's probably hopefully it's a good thing for Lily too. Maybe he gets a chance to play a little bit more going into his UFA year and get some ice time and show some teams what he can do. So he's been good here. Wish him the best. Like I said, he's a really good kid. So hopefully he can find some success there.